Okay, let's continue on with part 2. So, number 4 for topic 5 review says this: an animal shelter with only dogs and cats has a ratio of cats to dog that is 9-7. Okay, so let's start with that ratio. We've got 9 cats for every 7 dogs. Notice it always goes in order top to bottom. That may be something you got to study, is whatever comes first, right? Cats goes with the first number, and when we write it as a fraction, that's the top. Okay, so what is the ratio of dogs to all animals then? Okay, so in this case, right, it tells us we have 7 dogs. But to all animals, then, we would have to add this up, right? 9 plus 7 would be 16, is really our total. And so this would be the ratio. Now, you can write it like this as a fraction, 7 over 16. Or a lot of times we will see it written with the little colon in it, just like here. So know that if you're on Savas, you can either type that in or type that in, or sometimes it'll be multiple choice, and you've got to realize that that and that are the same. Okay, let's keep going. Number 5. Number 5, or I'm sorry, not number 5. We got to do the part B. The part B of that says a second shelter has a ratio of cats to dogs of 6-5. If both shelters have 18 cats, which shelter has more dogs? Okay, so the way we're going to do that is we're going to split it, right? So the first shelter has 9 cats to 7 dogs, and we want to know how many dogs they would have if they had 18 cats. So we got to line that up when we're trying to figure out if they're equal. We line up the units. So cats has to go with cats, dogs has to go with dogs. So 9 times what number gives me 18? Well, that would be times 2. So that means the bottom we would have to times 2 as well. And so the first shelter has 14 dogs in it. Now we got to go with the second shelter. It tells us that this second shelter has a ratio of 6 cats to 5 dogs. Okay, so 6 cats, 5 dogs. And again, we're asking if they both have 18 cats. So we're setting that equal to 18 cats again, and we're figuring out how many dogs they have. Well, 6 times what gives me 18? Well, that would be times 3. And so we have to times the bottom by 3. 5 times 3 would give us 15 total dogs in that second shelter. So the question is, which shelter has more dogs? It's going to be that second shelter then. Okay, and so you would want to either type that in or pick that as your answer choice when you're taking a test. Okay, next one, and I've been trying to cover it up because I accidentally did more of this ahead of time than before the video. But we've got the number 5 is this: complete the ratio table, then plot the pairs on the coordinate plane. So number 5, it gives you a table, and it starts with, I got to move my little sticky here. It starts with XY being 2-3, okay? And so we can make a ratio of 2-3 like this for number 5. And there's several ways you can do this, but we can say, okay, our X value is 2, our Y value is 3, and set it up like a fraction if we want. Okay, and then the next piece of information they give you underneath here is X is 4, and then this one's blank. So what you can do here is you can set it up like we've done all of these. We can say, okay, we know X is 4, so what would Y have to be? And again, we're using equivalents here. We're not trying to convert. We're trying to figure out what's the next equivalent. So 2 times what gives us 4? Well, that would be times 2. So that means the bottom we would have to times by 2 as well. 3 times 2 is 6. So that would be our answer that we would write in the next spot. And you probably already saw that next answer under there, but I want to show you how we get it. Okay, so we have 4 and 6. Well, the next one that they give you is 9 in the Y value. here is my recommendation. Sometimes these don't go in order like this. And so the best bet is to start back with what the problem gave you, not this answer, because if you get this wrong and then you use that to get the next one, then that will be wrong as well. So go back to the beginning, start with that ratio of 2 to 3, all right? X is 2, Y is 3, and then you fill in what you know. In this case, we know the y is 9, and we're trying to figure out the x. So 3 times what number gives us 9? Well, we would times that by 3. So that means the top we would also have to times by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. And so that's how you get this answer. And that way, if this one's incorrect, then you can still get this one. All right, to plot these on there, right, you would have to go right and then up. So you would go right 2, up 3, make a dot. Then you would go right 4, up 6, make a dot. And then you would go right 6, up 9, and make a dot. A little hint is when we are making ratio tables, these should land in a straight line. If they don't, you know you either did some math wrong over here or you did some graphing wrong. So that's a little something to keep in mind as you're taking your test. Okay. The next question, again, I went through it ahead of time, but the next question, I would like you to star this to study because this one is a little bit hidden in the difficulty level of it. So once you know what to do, it's not too bad. So we got to read it. Mrs. Banks wants to make 44 quarts, and I underline quarts for a reason, of jelly with 70 pounds of fruit. So we got pounds here. Okay, if each gallon of jelly needs 6.5 pounds of fruit, will she have enough fruit? How much leftover fruit does she have, or how much extra fruit is needed? Okay, so in this case, right, we have 44 quarts for 70 pounds, and it's asking us about how many gallons of jelly she needs for 6.5 pounds. So the first thing you have to do, and it doesn't tell you, is we got to convert 44 quarts to gallons first. Okay, so when we are converting, it's a little bit different, right? Converting is where we start with what unit we have, quarts, and we're trying to get gallons. In this case, we start that guy over 1. And this time we are really timesing. So I want you to notice the difference here. So in this one, it's equal, and we lined up cats with cats and dogs with dogs. This time we're trying to get rid of quarts, right? Because we want it to be gallons. So when we're trying to convert a unit to a different unit, then we do opposite. So quarts started at the top. To get rid of it, we would put it at the bottom in the next one. And we try to put, and we not try, we put what we want on the top. So we don't want quarts anymore. We are asking about gallons. Now, you will probably need your conversion cheat sheet for this. And if you have it in front of you, take a look. But if you don't have it in front of you, you'll find one that will tell you that 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. Okay, and so if you take a look at that, right, the ones are across from each other diagonal. So that means, are we going to multiply or are we going to divide? So in this case, since they're across from each other, not like this, we know we're going to divide that. So 44 divided by 4 is going to give us 11. So, and that means that's 11 gallons. So she wants to make, now we can read this problem as she wants to make 11 gallons of jelly, and she has 70 pounds of fruit to do it with. Okay, every gallon needs 6.5 pounds of fruit. So this word each, right? It needs 6.5 pounds of fruit. So every time they do a gallon, we need 6.5 pounds. That tells us we need to multiply now. So our second part of this is if we have 11 gallons times 6.5 pounds of fruit. So you can either do this as a fraction or you can convert it to a decimal. And so in this case, it's a fraction, but we can do it like this. So we can do it like this, 6.5. If we multiply that, right, it's not easy to do that. We can convert this. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 more. So I'm going to rewrite this. 12 plus 1 more is 13. Oops. Over 2. Right? And then to do this, remember 11's really over 1. And so we multiply, you can multiply across, right? And so you can do 11 times 13. And if you don't know what that is, feel free to line it up, right? Because that's not one that you memorize probably in elementary school. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Move it over. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. All right. And then we add that up. So 143 is our top over 2. And then it's like, oh my gosh, how much is that, right? And so you would have to divide that. Some of you can do it in your head, right? But if you don't know, you can divide that out. So like this. So how many 2's fit into 1? None. How many 2's fit into 14? 7. 7 times 2 is 14 exactly, right? So we bring that down. Well, then we still have this 3, right? So we got to bring this down. How many 2's fit into 3, right? So 1 fits in. 1 times 2 is 2. And then we subtract and we end up with 1. Now we have this remainder, right? So what we have to do is we have to add a decimal point and a 0 that we can bring down. And then we add that decimal point here. And so how many I got to put that 0 in. How many 2's fit into 10 would be 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay. And so 71.5 is what we have, right? And so, if you take a look at that, right, that's how much not how much we have. This is how much she needs. I'm sorry. She needs 71.5 pounds of fruit, but she only has 70 pounds of fruit. Okay. And so what she would need, she's going to need 1.5 more pounds. Now, this is how you do it with a fraction. If you want a fraction, there is an easier way if you can tell that 6.5 is 6.5. Okay, so this is really long, but if you know in your mind and you can memorize that half means 0.5, we could have done all of this by doing this. So this is the easier way. If you can memorize fractions to decimals, we could have this whole time done 11 times 6.5, and we could have lined that up and done it like this the whole time. 5 times 1 is 5. Oops. 5 times 1 is 5. And then move it over. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 1 is 6. Added them up. 6 plus 5 is going to give us 11. And then 6 plus 1 is 7. You have one spot here for the decimal, so put that decimal back in. Look how much faster that is to get that answer. Okay, so you can do it this way as well, but you've got to know that 6.5, anytime there's a half, that's a 0.5, and you can multiply the decimal. Okay, so that answer is answer choice A. Do we care which way you use? Nope. But this one, please study this one. The whole idea is you must do the conversion first for this one. Get that. And then you can either multiply the fraction or you can multiply the decimal if you know it to figure out the answer. Okay, let's end this video here and we'll go to the next.